Hey everyone, welcome to the Field Between, here for a good time, not a long time.
I'm Yasmin.
I'm Ahmed.
And we're so happy to be with you. It's been a long time since it's been just the two of us. We've had some really awesome interview episodes, which have been really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't popped on here for a while, just us.
Yeah, make sure to listen to those.
Yes, they're really great.
It's 7:34 a.m. We both have work days coming up, but it's also Valentine's Day.
Yes, it's Valentine's Day. Just such a special day.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. We're a little tired.
Do you know the history?
I don't. Do you?
Something about Saint Valentine.
Yeah, I've
He
heard
was
of
in
that
jail
guy.
for a bit.
Really? I don't remember anything about
He was
him.
in prison, right?
I think so. I don't know. I actually really don't remember.
He was tortured.
Wow. Love is hard.
Let's find out what you got.
Oh, I was going to start by saying I'm sorry that we're a little tired. I don't know why. I woke up just like thrashing around and I couldn't fall back asleep. Did you fall back asleep?
No, because you were thrashing around and then...
I was too hot. I should have
your
lowered the
thrashing around
temperature.
is very loud.
I woke myself up like around 2:30.
Yeah, and then I woke up because I was burning to death.
Because
you had... We sleep under 2 layers of blanket.
Mm-hmm.
The top one is like a good quality wool blanket,
Mm-hmm.
which is great.
But it shouldn't be doubled up.
It should not be doubled up on you. You should not be tangled up in it and just like absolutely just smothered by it.
I'm sorry.
And so I woke up and I was like, oh man, why am I in hell?
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that.
But then did you fall back
you
asleep?
Had bunched it up on top of me. As
you were so
wont
cute.
to
I
do.
was trying to like sit really quietly because I felt bad that I probably had woken you up, and then you just like you're kind of like a boo, kind of like hi.
Yeah.
And then we cuddled, and then did you fall back asleep after that?
It took me a while, but I got there.
I don't know why. I just kept like
my neck was bothering me actually. Most
me
of the
too.
time.
I
Really?
feel like I need a new pillow.
You feel like you need a new pillow?
Yeah.
I need a new pillow.
Yeah.
We should get a new pillow.
We should use our JCPenney gift certificate and get some new pillows.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we're still here, and we're excited to be here.
He's the patron saint of Turney. What is that? A city?
It sounds like it's in Ireland or something.
It's a city.
Yeah.
Epilepsy.
Epilepsy, really?
Why do they have saint? That's such a...
Maybe people... I know sometimes people thought that people who had epilepsy were having visions. Maybe that's why.
And beekeepers.
Wow. Real diverse portfolio for the saint of love.
And also, I guess, the saint of courtly... Or associated with the tradition of courtly love. But he's not the saint of love. He's just associated.
Wow.
He's the saint of beekeepers.
We should have some honey today in his honor. What are we doing today for Valentine's Day? We're going to go see a movie.
Getting burgers.
And we're getting burgers and fries. And we're going to look cute. Those are our plans.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to wear an all red outfit, I decided. I wanted to wear the really cute bodysuit that you got me, but I think it's just simply too cold out. So, yeah. All right. Okay, my item. This is actually from a while ago. I was looking just for like Valentine's Day articles.
He was martyred on this day. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
I'm still reading through his Wikipedia.
This is definitely like a whole underside to St. Valentine's story.
It has nothing to do with love.
We make it about love. I will say I was one of those people that before I was in a relationship, I found Valentine's Day really irritating. And now that I'm married, I really like it. Though my dad always used to get me Valentine's Day gifts. That was really cute. But there was like a gap in between my dad getting me Valentine's Day gifts and me getting married, in which I did not get gifts. Sometimes with friends, I would go like on the day after to, like a CVS and have all the discount candy. That was a cute tradition.
There was
there's many forms of love.
In a church in Dublin, there is a relic, a small vessel tinged with his blood.
Wow. Great. Well, good to know. I'm glad you looked that up for us. All right. I'm going to lead us through. This was a New York Times article in 2022, so a little while ago, called 7 Simple Exercises to Strengthen Your Relationship. And look, it's like red and has hearts on it. And it was just like little things that you can do to be in love and keep staying in love. So I'm going to read them. You can tell me what you think. And for the ones that are easy to do, we can do them a little bit. Okay, the first one is keep track of the good stuff. Identify at least 5 things your partner routinely does to show love. Let's just do 2. You make us coffee, which I so appreciate. We're drinking coffee right now. I like am pretty dependent on it at this point. So it arguably is like a tactic, but it's a really good tactic.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You make us coffee. And then also, I mean, this is a simple thing, or not a simple thing, but like an obvious thing, but you cook for us a lot. So there are two things that you do a lot that show us love.
Wow.
Yeah.
You tidy up a lot.
Mm-hmm. I'm a tidier.
Yeah. And I think you tend to be the one who, not that I'm not like communicative. I think I'm fairly communicative, but I think you really press that.
Yeah, sometimes too much, maybe, honestly, but it can be a good thing in some moments.
You're a real fighter. Not in a bad way, you know.
Yeah.
I'm fighting for this. Not that,
Not that I even need to. We're doing pretty good, but yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. I also just like can't deal with silence, for better and for worse. So if you are if you're feeling kind of down, I kind of need like an explanation.
You have a very strong commitment to openness is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I love you a lot, so I like to know what's up with you. Okay, the next one is hold hands. Find many opportunities you can to hold hands with your partner today.
Okay.
Sitting at the breakfast table,
holding microphones,
out the door, or watching television. Then spend a few minutes talking about something in your life that is causing you stress and anxiety.
Okay.
Whatever it is, hold your partner's hand while you were talking about it.
We'll do that later.
I don't know if I find that one. I like just touching you in general. I like to touch you a lot. I don't know if I need to like hold your hand in particular.
Yeah.
Do you feel similarly?
Depends on where. I mean, I like sometimes holding hands while we walk or something.
I don't like holding hands while you walk because it makes it hard to walk efficiently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of slows you down a bit.
Yeah,
but you're thankfully a fast walker. Thank goodness. I can't deal. Yeah, but I like physical intimacy. I like curling up together and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so that one we're a maybe. Read to each other. Each partner should pick a favorite.
You don't know how to read? We're supposed to put you to bed.
I'm kind of doing this right now.
Yeah.
Each partner should pick a favorite story. It could be an excerpt from a book or magazine, a children's book, or a poem. Now find time to read your selections to each other. You'll be surprised by how much fun it is to have someone read to you and to read to someone you love. Don't just listen to the words, be aware of your partner's voice.
I
like it when we read stuff together and talk about it because it's like fun to feel like we're in the same world. And we hadn't done that for a while, but for last episode we both read Abdurrahman's book, and that was super fun to like be reading it all day and talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm not that great at reading stuff out loud. I feel like you're better at it. Like I'd rather hear you read things out loud than I would like to read things out loud to you.
I think you have a better voice, but you are very fast.
Right. I actually think you've got a better voice. I think you're more even and like expressive. I feel like I would rather just like, yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, we don't really read to each other,
Mm-hmm.
do we?
No.
Just like a line if we find it interesting.
We'll read poetry to each other when we're both sitting and reading poetry, but that's about it.
We should do that.
We
We've
haven't
done
done
that
that
for
in
a
a
while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay.
I like when you tell me what you're reading.
Sometimes I will read to you a menu.
Oh, often. Yeah, which is helpful because I don't wear my glasses.
So that's pretty good. Yeah.
My students are over me with that, which is really funny. Yesterday, this happened for the second day in a row that I like brought my glass case, but my glasses weren't in there. So I got to class, I opened the glass case, and one of my students, who this is the third class she's taking with me, she was like, "Oh no," which is really cute. And I was like, okay, like when I was taking attendance, I was like, everyone say yes, because like, or say something, because I just like, I don't want to squint and see where you are because I don't have my glasses today.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. That's the one time I do usually wear my glasses is when I'm teaching. Okay, accept the small problems. Write down one or two of your partner's annoying habits that create occasional conflict in your relationship. Often these small conflicts involve domestic chores such as paying bills, doing laundry, or making the bed. Share your pics with each other and talk about them without judgment. Use the conversation to identify a positive trait that might help explain the behavior. Leaving what's behind, I'm moving around a little bit. Learning what's behind a particular behavior can help you accept it and even appreciate it.
Interesting.
This is called acceptance therapy, apparently.
I found a Q-tip under the bed yesterday. What's behind that?
I think just klutziness.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you accept that?
I think it's a tag team between you and the cat. You just like leave the Q-tips
and then she
in the
like
bathroom
gets it.
and she bats them around the house.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then I found that's how it ended up under the bed.
All right, so that's one. What do you? I don't really. I think just like general lack of awareness is behind that.
I can't think of anything else. That one is so broad that it kind of like it manifests in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like pills on the floor.
Uh-huh.
What else? Shirt inside out.
Your shirt inside out doesn't bother me, but I assume I should just let you know because.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. No, I didn't think it bothered.
You fully wore your shirt backwards to the gym yesterday.
I didn't think that bothered you. I was just thinking of like things that were a symptom of that. Okay, good one. I would say just like leaving piles of things, but it doesn't bother me honestly anymore because I think everything has a designated space, so I just move it back.
I told you what's behind that.
I think you're always just in the middle of a million projects, so you kind of like do things and leave them. What else?
Genetic memories.
Genetic memories?
Building the pyramids. I told you. So at least you can understand and appreciate.
I don't recall that. So like stacks of books, are you trying to build the pyramids?
I guess so on some level.
Okay, your ancestors are probably mostly Turkish at this point.
No.
Wow, that is
according to my parents, we were never conquered by the Ottomans. So
even though for how many years again were the Egyptians?
400. Almost 500. I don't know. It's like so.
This is like a tangent, but it's so interesting. Like there's been so many obviously different waves of influence.
To the mic.
So many different waves of influence on Egypt. Like Greek influence, Turkish influence, Nubian influence, like so many different cultures that have made the Egyptian people. I feel like when I was a kid, I thought that like, this is so dumb, but I thought like America was the only place that people came from different places. And the older you get and like you realize about different histories, you're like, oh no, people are moving around everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
That's like a dumb thought, but yeah.
No.
Okay, so basically us leaving stuff behind in various ways we have accepted about each other. Share your perfect day. I feel like that's boring. I feel like we know that. Okay. All right. And then feel each other's heartbeat.
Okay.
How cute.
You're not a newborn. This is a list of things you would do with a newborn. Read to them, feel their heartbeat.
Accept their shortcomings. Yeah. Try not to giggle or speak. Be mindful of each other's breathing. Be present and quiet together. When the timer sounds, take a breath. Discuss how it felt to experience this nonverbal connection with each other. When my heart is racing, sometimes you'll help me like...
I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
You gotta...
That was actually really validating because you're the only person that's like noticed it and like been able to feel it, you know, besides myself, obviously. And so when I realized that someone else could feel it, I was like, damn, it actually is going really fast. Like I need to like relax in this moment. That hasn't happened for a while, but in those moments, I think it's nice to like have someone help you like relax and calm down. But just our general heartbeats, I think we let them go by ourselves.
Just imagine 70 beats per minute in your head.
I like when I'm like laying on your chest and I can kind of heal your heartbeat, but I don't really seek out to do that. It just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing, practice gratitude together. Write down 3 things about your partner for which you feel grateful. I feel like we already did that, but basically just kind of focus on gratitude. That was
so grateful. It's just like Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Be grateful for your person.
Thanksgiving should be the sexy holiday.
Why? It's too much food for it to be a sexy holiday.
Grateful.
I guess. Turkey's not very sexy though.
But that's kind of, you know, it's like accepting someone even when they are sweaty after having eaten a whole turkey.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe it's grateful for not just romantic love, but also Valentine's Day I think can be for all sorts of love.
Well, I think that's romantic.
I'm glad.
Cooking food.
That's true.
Eating food.
The burgers we're getting tonight are good. That'll be romantic.
Yeah. Okay, I have another relationship themed story.
Okay.
To share with you, and then we'll get into kind of the rest of our discussions. Oh, by the way, we didn't really do update. We saw Sam.
Oh, we did. We saw Sam. If you've heard the poetry episode, and if not, you absolutely should. It was really fun. We got more books from him, including a novel.
We hadn't been able to see him for a while.
Yeah.
Because we've been sick at different times, and then we had group events, and we were just...
Right. Every time we've seen like a lot of people, we're like, let's wait 2 weeks to make sure we don't have COVID, even
honestly,
though we're both vaccinated.
The man just does not quit.
He doesn't. Also, I think it was funny because we were like, okay, are we like in a good place to see Sam? And then we went to see Sam, and he was really sniffly, and we were like, huh, perhaps we are going to get sick. But yeah, I think he was good.
The man is unstoppable.
Yeah,
like,
it's so impressive, mashallah.
Since we saw him, he's there's one thing that we cannot talk about publicly that I think will be announced.
Which is exciting. Yeah. Some good recognition of his work.
And then there was, he's published a book. And what else? We
found out he's written a novel in the past, which we didn't know.
He's written a novel, but he's also revived the International Poetry Forum, which brings a lot of poets to Pittsburgh and just does a lot of events, I think, nationally. So it's a pretty serious organization that's meant to kind of bring poetry to this area and to others. So
yeah,
he's busy.
And how old is Sam again? Because I know.
So he's born, I think, in 1928.
So how do we math?
That's 90. He'll be 96 this year.
Mashallah. Yeah. No, impressive guy. Such a sweetheart. It was really nice seeing him.
Yeah.
I always am like aware of like how much I'm dependent on my phone whenever we see Sam, just because I feel like we're constantly looking things up to show him or talk to him about, and he just like has it all in his head or in the books around him, which is so admirable.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was nice. It put me in a really good mood. It's always really lovely. I mean, it's only our second time, but it feels really like rejuvenating and lovely to see him.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. My story is about a man who will not quit fighting for love.
Okay. Like me, the way I fight for our love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This story is in the New York Magazine's Intelligencer about Bill Ackman.
Oh dear.
The billionaire husband of Mary Oxman.
Wife.
Yes.
Plagiarized from Wikipedia.
Yeah. Whose wife, he loves her. She loves Wikipedia. And there's a profile in the New York Magazine about him. Of course, he's the guy who led to Claudine Gay resigning over allegations of anti-Semitism, which then snowballed into him just trying to dig up things about her dissertation, which then led to people looking at his wife's dissertation and saying,
how did he not think about that?
She did plagiarism too, and probably even in a more gross fashion.
She actually did plagiarism. Yeah. I maintain that Claudine Gay did not really do plagiarism.
Yeah. So I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's a really long profile, but I wanted to highlight just some really choice sections. So in the beginning here, even as a college student, Ackman, who was also thinking about the university, how the university worked, and the role it played in society, he majored in social studies and took a formative course on ethnicity and nationalism taught by Marty Perez, who became a lifelong mentor. He's a bruiser, Perez told me recently when I asked what impressed him about Ackman. A bruiser and a brain do not very often go together. Ackman's senior thesis, submitted in 1988, looked at how admissions quotas to limit the Jewish student population in the 1920s echoed what some saw as unfair treatment of Asian Americans in the 80s. Ackman concluded that Harvard was admitting more students from other minority groups simply because it has been pressured to do so. He also critiqued the idea that the university was primarily a place for the transfer of knowledge. The real purpose of a university in a capitalist society was to distribute privilege, Ackman wrote. The question, who should go to college, should perhaps more appropriately become who is going to manage society, which honestly,
I think that's kind of how it works.
That's a descriptive, yeah.
It's not an ideal that we should aspire to, but especially I would say for who goes to like elite colleges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if Ackman was part of this conversation, but it kind of, right, with the whole DEI, critiquing like a DEI thing. So you're kind of just saying like, oh, you're letting all these like minorities into college because you're trying to be politically correct, and now it's destroying the university.
But I mean, it sounds like in his own like university work, he was saying like, essentially, it seems like I just want to stay in power. Like I'm the class who is going to like rule society, but don't let
he
this
critiqued
in.
The idea that the university. Yeah. Okay, so he was saying, yes, sorry, yeah, it's really early. Yeah, so he's saying that's a good thing. That's a good thing that it's just about who's going to manage society.
So that kind of makes sense if you've a vested interest in like in continuing to be part of the ruling elite, that you wouldn't want other people to join you.
Yeah. A little bit farther down, it talks about how.
But what's the love connection?
Oh, because it's gonna get into the Claudine Gay stuff. And him fighting for Neri.
Gotcha. I was like, does he love fighting for a lack of diversity?
Yeah. Well, he loves Harvard. He loves,
being elite.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you have to fight for your relationships. So his nephew, it talks about how his nephew enrolled at Harvard and his daughter did as well. And he talks about that. She became like an anti-capitalist, like practically a Marxist, Ackman said in January, leaning across a large conference room table at the offices of his hedge fund, Pershing Square. We'd talk about capitalism and she would freak out at the table. His daughter was in the social studies department just like her father and rode crew as well. But she had chosen to write her thesis on the concept of reification in Western Marxist thought, having come to very different conclusions than her father about how the world should work.
There's some education for you.
Yeah, Ackman said it felt as though she had been indoctrinated into a cult. Father and daughter eventually made up. He bought her a copy of Das Kapital as a present for her graduation in 2020, but in hindsight, Ackman saw it as an early warning. That was an indicator, but I didn't know if it was just my daughter or what, he said. I didn't think like the biology department was involved. So it's a couple things here. I'm sure it's just if your dad's a billionaire, it's just kind of like a phase sort of thing that you go to kind of be like edgy or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
And two, you kind of start to see, for whatever reason, you know, even though he was out of the humanities, he starts to kind of have a disdain for the humanities because it's just teaching people to kind of maybe think a little bit critically. He's like,
yeah, absolutely.
Biology doesn't do this. It just instills a very rigid, structure onto how people think because it only works one way through a set of mechanics or whatever. That's how like people kind of see it, and they kind of just want to map that onto the rest of the world.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to skip a little bit farther down. It starts to talk about his, him starting to write letters to Harvard and try to get Claudine Gay ousted. This is a little bit after. By January, Ackman's second wife, the glamorous and slightly uncategorizable scientist architect Neri Oxman, was being accused of plagiarism too, and Ackman was promising not only to sue Business Insider, which published the allegations, but to use artificial intelligence to audit the work of other college professors as an act of spousal vengeance.
I feel like it's so insane how much these people think. Like, I think just by sheer result of the amount of money that they have, that they can like control all narratives. Like, it's just ridiculous that he could spend so much of his time going after this one individual person, Claudine Gay, and then like not be able to fathom that the same kind of like level of like, you know, combing through someone's like academic work could happen to his own family.
Yeah,
like, how could you not think about that?
I actually didn't know that he said he would be using AI to just like run everyone's thesis through it.
I mean,
I think if he did that, he would find, like, if you were able to get like a percentage score of what is plagiarized, which in his hands, I'm sure the way he defines it would be very dubious, but his wife's score would still be higher than the average
I was
academic.
Gonna say, yeah.
It'd be like, you know, she would probably have like a 15 to 20%, and then everyone else, like the average would probably just be like 8.
I would say there's also the kind of like embarrassment of just like Wikipedia is not a valid academic source. Like, I teach my students like literally like, hey, like, okay, Wikipedia is a good starting point, but then what we do is we look at the site, you know, the sources that were cited on Wikipedia, and then we go to those footnotes and we like read them and we check for ourselves, and like, but like, so it's always just a starting point. Like, I never would accept anything in my class that cited Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Not even like a homework assignment.
Yeah.
Let alone like a midterm or a final. And these are undergrads.
Yeah.
You know, not PhD students.
So you're saying that how does he have the time to do all of this? Again, I maintain that it's love. Because so he, again, is doing this out of a feeling of spousal vengeance. He is a guy who runs a hedge fund. And he's posting like 5,000 words a day on Twitter for a little while. He kind of disappeared.
Man,
for a
I wish
bit,
I could hit those kind of word counts for my writing goals.
I know for sure. Okay, so he's talking. I am posting while on the elliptical for better time management. He says the Financial Times published the quiz testing readers' ability to tell the difference between Ackman's tweeting and Patrick Bateman's unhinged inner monologue from American Psycho. I took the quiz, Ackman told me, and I got a perfect score.
Like that he was American Psycho?
I guess so, but like they're saying, I guess it was like a dumb quiz that they did.
As a joke, yeah.
Yeah, as a joke. Okay. There's a section here that I really want to get to. Let me skip on down here.
I've gone on this rant before, but I'll also say it is true. I mean, like his small one real point is that because of AI now, we probably can tell like with more efficiency, obviously, like when people didn't cite correctly. But I think that kind of type of plagiarism is often like a failure to footnote, which is still a problem. But it could include like an in-text citation, even if an informal one. Like Foucault says XYZ, but then you didn't do a good job, like actually including the footnote with the proper page of where, which you should do, obviously. But
yeah,
humans are not perfect. I just, having just finished my dissertation in a rush, I'm very aware that humans are not perfect.
Yeah.
Speaking of, while you're looking for the place that you want to point us to, speaking of Ackman on the elliptical, I have been counting my steps for the first time, and it's very fun. I have a little app on my phone.
Yeah, you're becoming like a little American Psycho.
Yeah, I have to hit 10,000, which is a very modest goal. But it's nice because when I'm working, especially like in the office, I feel like I don't move that much, so it makes me get up and walk up and down the stairs. That's my elliptical type update.
Okay. This section is just gold.
Okay.
Ackman talks about just his outlook on philosophy and on life. Ackman believes that our lives are often fated from birth.
Wow.
I have a view that people become their names. He told me, like, I've met people named Hamburger that own McDonald's franchises. Isn't that incredible?
Wow, what a sophisticated take on fate and destiny.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, no, you've never met a guy named Hamburger.
I mean, maybe.
No, who names their kids like
last name?
Hamburglar? Oh, okay.
I'm thinking he's saying last name, but I don't know.
I think he's saying he's met the Hamburglar. No, because there's no way this guy, I don't believe it. I think he's just so stupid that he was like, fuck, I said this. And
how do I
like, what's the first thing I think of? And the first thing he could think of is cheeseburger, hamburger. And then he's just like, McDonald's. I want him to produce, this is another scandal. I want him to produce the hamburger he knows.
You want him to find him?
Yeah, I want him to dox Hamburger. We'd been talking for nearly half an hour. This is the writer. And nearly an hour and a half when Ackman asked what my name was.
Lol.
Yeah, I know, right? Like,
so
he
self-absorbed.
just, like, does not give a shit.
I love the writer for including that detail. Yeah. Props to the writer.
So after an hour and a half, he finally asked what the name was to kind of make this point like about his own life philosophy and seem so like intellectual and great. Hoping to offer a diagnosis, after he seemed momentarily stumped by my surname, I offered him my first name, which he misheard as Reed. So the writer's last name is R-E-E-D.
Uh-huh.
And Ackman heard that as R-E-A-D. And here's what he said. Reed? Right. He said before turning back to himself. So, my name is Ackman. It's like activist man.
What?
Which, so he's not
that
like...
sounds so made up.
He's not doing like a...
literal,
like a genealogy of the name or anything like that. He's just
like
what? He's like
honestly,
a portmanteau.
like a spoken word, like free versus like association.
So like.
Wait, what would ours be?
I cannot believe that.
Ahmed.
Ahmed.
Man,
I would love to hear what Bill has to say about what my name is.
Amr.
I'm guessing
it's like amor.
It only
like
works
love.
for like European.
Yeah, I'm guessing
Christian
so too.
names,
I don't know.
I'm assuming.
Yasmin is like yes, queen.
He'd probably say that. Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah. Incredible. Anyway, I just wanted to share that bit. There's a lot more to this that we won't go through, but you know, it's a man driven by love of himself to say such stupid shit.
And his wife.
Driven by his wife.
But he's really not helping her at this
Loves
point,
her
I don't
so
think.
much that he is actively like making her life worse and embarrassing her by putting her in the spotlight.
Yeah, it's true. She's still at MIT, right? Like they haven't removed her yet.
Yes, I think that center is still there, and she's like the head of a center.
I wonder if she'll have some pressure to step down from the center. That would seem just.
Certainly, she's going to be I mean, she's been like thoroughly embarrassed.
Yeah,
you know?
her academic reputation is kind of tarnished now.
Yeah.
Rough roll of the dice.
Yeah. Okay. I think we don't have like a main segment or anything like that, but since it's been a month since it's been the two of us talking, might be good to just kind of talk general updates, world news, specifically Gaza. Is there anything that you want to start with?
No, at the time of this recording, people in Palestine were told to go south to Rafah, which is now being attacked by Israeli bombardment. So really,
it's the most
rough situation.
Densely populated place on Earth right now.
Yeah.
About a month ago.
Right on the border of Egypt, and Egypt is not opening up the border.
Right. So I don't know if we mentioned this on the last episode, but since we've last spoken, the ICJ case happened.
Mm-hmm.
A couple things came out of that.
Criminal Justice Court.
Uh-huh. So, one, they told Israel to take every precaution to avoid committing genocide, which Israel's spin team, their propaganda mill, tried to spin as, oh, well, certainly, like, we do that already. And they tried to frame the court ruling as a victory because they're saying, well, they're telling us to limit the possibility of a genocide, which means we have not actually committed genocide up to this point. But the ICJ has also found, so the ICJ was not ruling on the merits. They were just, it was not saying this is a genocide, this is not a genocide, because that's going to take years to deliberate. But they did give a ruling saying that they need to limit their actions and measure their response, as well as provide humanitarian assistance, and then show clearly, like, they're supposed to be writing essentially like a book report on how they're going to do that. And that's supposed to be, I think, due in like to the ICJ in like 2 weeks or something like that.
It all seems like mostly symbolic.
Well, they also found that they were plausibly committing a genocide. So.
Right. But I mean, in terms of like the ability there's like no real enforcement mechanism.
But I don't know about that. I've heard different analyses. So I do think that the ICJ, they did stop short of calling for a ceasefire, like an immediate one,
right?
Which which is part of what South Africa was demanding. I'm not a legal expert or even like a geopolitical expert,
yeah.
Right? But just kind of riffing here, my guess is that they had to balance a lot of politics in this, unfortunately. And if they had just straight up called for a ceasefire,
that's probably true.
They probably would have put themselves in a position of having the Western powers, or like everyone who's not in support of Israel, everyone who is in support of Israel would not have listened, and then everyone who is not in support of Israel would have seen that the ICJ could not enforce an immediate ceasefire. And so it would have really delegitimized the court. So I think they stopped short of giving that explicit command, but then put a lot of other burdens on Israel as part of their ruling by saying you have to produce this report, you have to take concrete measurable steps to limit the suffering, and you have to allow humanitarian aid. And you have to do all these things that prove you are not committing a genocide, which would have been tantamount had Israel actually followed through to, like, Israel would not be able to continue the bombardment it's doing now.
But they are. Yeah.
But they are. Right.
I mean, I think it's also important for the historical record. Yeah. I mean,
but I think that was the thinking of the ICJ.
Right. Use the tools that you have. But I mean, it's interesting because it seems like it was interpreted really differently in different places. Like, a lot of people who are currently in Palestine, like young journalists and stuff, seemed really upset by the ruling because I think they obviously just are in crisis and were hoping for a change.
Yeah, of course.
But it did seem like a lot of legal experts, including like Palestinians in the diaspora whose voices I follow, were like, at least it's something, but it's not doing enough, obviously. Yeah.
I think people, obviously, for good reason, and I do too as well, wish that these international justice institutions would use stronger language to condemn this stuff, or like take more of a stance. Right. But ultimately they were created, by Western powers.
Yeah, it gets back to the problem also of just like the UN. I mean, essentially, like a lot of these international institutions are made up of the current makeup of power structure of individual nation states. And so like in this case, if the US is perpetrating the problem, how do you actually hold the US accountable?
Yeah, I think they all voted pretty unanimously though on this stuff. Even the Israeli judge sided with the others. Like they appointed like a special Israeli judge. Yeah. The other thing that's been happening is the UN are UNRWA, or is it RWA?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it's UNWRA, right?
WRA, UNRWA, yeah. Israel has alleged that 12 of the 30,000 employees of UNRWA, which is the largest aid organization that operates in Palestine, are part of Hamas.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
And so they have kind of been wanting to bomb UNRWA.
So just checking, UNRWA stands for United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees. So it was doing a lot of important like food aid in the area.
It was created shortly after Israel was created because I think there was a recognition on the West's part, at least saying like, hey, we're displacing and creating 750,000 refugees. It looks bad. So we should do something. And so then UNRWA was essentially created. And what UNRWA, how it operates is that it actually does hire and like a lot of, it's not only an aid organization, but it's also a works organization. So a lot of the workers are Palestinians.
Right.
So when people hear and when Israel's saying like, oh, they have connections to Gaza, these 12, once people started examining those connections, they found them to be a little bit, you had to take a leap and say that they were directly involved in October 7th.
It's also just such bullshit. We're so far out from October 7th at this point, and they keep on trying to find new shit that allegedly is connected. And I mean, it really just seems like a ploy to try and cut off any kind of like aid. I mean, I think that's exactly what it is.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you've seen the Smotrich, who's, I can't remember his exact, he's one of the higher ups in the Israeli government. He's kind of like, I would say next to Netanyahu, like one of the premier people in the government. Sorry, I can't remember his exact title, but he is the kind of the guy that when the people report is like, he's the right wing, like super Zionist guy, like awful man. Apparently he's been, encouraging Israeli settlers and Zionists to go to the border and protest and try to stop whatever aid trucks are coming through.
Yeah.
Have you seen those protests?
I have. I've seen just like clips. Yeah.
And it's just like such a awful thing to see because like how lacking in humanity do you have to be to go to a border where 1.5 million people are, essentially refugees in encampments, don't have water, don't have access to medical supplies. Again, they're doing anesthesia. They're doing surgeries without anesthesia. People don't have food. There have been reports of people just kind of, grazing on like whatever they can kind of find. Like, and it's like very little. Babies are eating solid foods before they're ready.
Yeah. They're also in like an area that was not very like built up. I think that is like largely an agricultural area. So like not a place that had like a lot of infrastructure to begin with, and the infrastructure that did exist in Gaza is, largely destroyed now.
Yeah. And they're going to this area and saying, no, like they're like gleefully, like Israel is a sadistic state. It takes pleasure in torturing the Palestinians, and this is like an absolutely. When we started this, Israel was saying, we're only going to. I mean, no one believed them, but it's what they trotted out. It's like, oh, we're only going to be in Gaza City, in North Gaza. There's no Hamas in the south,
right?
And now they are fully in the south on the border with Egypt.
Yeah, I mean they strategically pushed the entire population all the way to the south of the territory. I think also just like super depressing to watch Egypt not do anything in this moment. Super depressing to watch the Egyptian military just not mobilize. And similar, I mean, even differently than the U.S. I mean, the vast majority of Egyptians obviously are very, very against Israeli occupation, are very supportive of the Palestinian people. So it's just the government that is really
Yeah. It is very embarrassing to be Egyptian.
That's not what I'm
right
saying.
No, that's
But
that's
I think
what
it is
I'm saying.
embarrassing for especially all of these Arab states and who are just like giving lip service but not actually providing any kind of material support, especially when Egypt is literally on the border of these people who are being bombarded.
Yeah. There was a leak that was, from someone, I guess, in the government, saying that Egypt was going to essentially tear up the Egypt-Israeli peace treaty. But I think the government has come out and denied that.
And I think that was also, if I'm remembering correctly, that was contingent on if Israel pushed Palestinian refugees into Egypt.
Into Rafah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think, yes, if they bombed Rafah.
Okay. I thought it was if they pushed them into Egypt, no?
I'm not sure on the details, but either way, I think the government has denied it.
Yeah, they're not going to do anything. Also, like, Sisi, who's like the dictator of Egypt, is also kind of essentially like a client state. Not a client state, but like, receives a lot of like U.S. aid to the military. So they're not going to do anything to really piss off the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
You go first.
No, I was just going to go back to the UNRWA thing. I think Israel has been saying that it is going to. There are now Hamas tunnels under, like the headquarter Hamas tunnels are under the UNRWA building.
That's convenient.
So they're really gonna. It's like whack-a-mole, you know.
There's also been reports that they are torturing the director of was it Al Shifa Hospital in order to like get him to say that there were Hamas militants there, and he's trying to refuse. I don't think those reports have been verified, but
really,
yeah.
No, I haven't heard that one.
I was going to say just big picture, if that's all right. Something actually Sam pointed out to us, which is not like he's not the first person to have said this, but he said it in a way that was really concise and really stayed with me. It's just like the absurdity at this point of essentially like Israel being a client state to the U.S. And the U.S. there's been all these ridiculous reports of like behind closed doors, Biden is mad at Netanyahu. Behind closed doors, Biden does not approve of the way this is being handled. And it's like, okay, if we are in this situation essentially like the
superpower,
what's the proper term in like colonial terms? I'm trying to think. Like Israel is almost like not exactly a colony of the US, but certainly a client state. Like, why are we not calling the shots? Like, it's fucking ridiculous. And you have to say, like, I think that obviously Biden doesn't care enough. Like, obviously he supports these actions or doesn't care enough to actually say we're gonna withdraw our military aid now if you keep on doing this, if you keep on treating like human beings in this way. And it's so honestly even more offensive to me to hear like these stupid leaked reports of like secretly Biden is angry. Like, be angry in public if you're actually disapproving. Also Biden is just like not mentally well or fit for office at this moment, so who the fuck knows what he actually thinks. But
what's the saying? It's like the tail wagging the dog.
Yeah, I've never heard that, but that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
On Biden, yes, the main's absolutely been deteriorating. In the last couple, like he called Sisi,
the president of Mexico.
President of Mexico.
He's the president of Egypt. He's been talking about
meeting with the dead French president.
And I forget who because I don't remember.
Mitterrand.
But he called Angela Merkel the name of a dead German leader. Also, yeah. He's old. He's too old. Yeah.
Sundowning, whatever the term is.
Oh, yeah. I sundown a little bit in terms of I get anxious at night. Not that I lose my memory, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so their strategy now has been, because I think they know that this is a bad look for them.
Politically, yeah.
Yeah, their strategy has just been like a very like one based in like how he talks about it. And they're like, oh, he called him an asshole, like in private. And so they're saying it's like, oh man, Biden is just so burned up about what's going on over there. He really doesn't like Netanyahu. Meanwhile, they're passing all this like billions of dollars in military aid. And they're like, he referred to, who knows what's going on in his brain, but like he also referred to the operation in Rafah as our operation.
Right.
And then they had to go back and kind of like clean that up.
Yeah, and that was really weird. I think that there was like pressure to like make it seem as if he didn't say that, which is kind of creepy because he did.
Yeah.
Like it was recorded that he said that, even if it was a slip by accident.
Oh yeah, I think someone had posted like that when it was posted to the official POTUS accounts. They had cleaned it up so that it didn't say our operation,
Or it was like a little hard to like hear or understand,
Something like
which is
that,
really
yeah.
sketchy and weird. Yeah.
Which I would have thought would be illegal.
Yeah.
Posted to the like official websites because
Yeah.
you're supposed to have like a transcript and
Yeah.
things like that of what the president said. The other thing is during the Super Bowl, so Israel bought like an ad spot.
Which I haven't watched yet. Have you?
There were 2 ads that I think one was Israel's. It was like a bring the dads home or something like that, which
The
I guess
hostages.
they realized that all the propaganda pieces that they put into the New York Times about these women and these girls that are being like sexually abused that have been like debunked.
I think unfortunately the probably vast majority of people who read those articles don't realize they've been debunked. But yeah.
Yeah. So now they're doing a bring dads home thing maybe before Father's
Maybe
Day,
it also
which I don't
somehow
know.
like ties into the Super Bowl. I don't know.
I guess dads playing the Super Bowl. I don't know.
Just like dads watching the Super Bowl. I don't know.
Watching. Oh yeah, maybe that's it. While Israel was airing its propaganda spot, that's when it began the bombardment of Rafah. So it killed 100 people at least, confirmed. They're saying that it was a hostage rescue operation in which they rescued 2 hostages. Hamas is saying that they actually killed 3 hostages.
That wouldn't be surprising. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again and again, the Israeli government, I don't think that they actually really care that much about hostages. I'm sure a lot of people in Israel care about hostages, but the government is not acting in a way which acts as though they sincerely care that the hostages come back alive.
Yeah.
Because they just keep on indiscriminately bombing places where the hostages likely are.
And I don't need to say it or go into details, but the description of the carnage that just came out of
it was super
those
graphic.
bombings is horrible. Like they're just like truly nightmarish images. And meanwhile, I think strategically they did use the ad spot, say bring these dads home in the Super Bowl while Americans were distracted, to just commit just atrocity after atrocity.
Yeah, and again, there's just the weirdness and like in what world? I mean, this is a country that like went through the Cold War and was so paranoid about the idea of foreign interference. In what world is it normal for another country to be taking out ads? It just seems strange.
Isn't it?
It's a strange dynamic.
Yeah, that's a really good point to just
Yeah, I can't imagine any other country like I don't know. It would be so weird if like I don't know, anywhere, Germany, the UK, like just took out like the nation state, not like
Iran,
a company.
China.
Yeah, I mean, especially obviously
If China
countries
was
that are
just
often
like
like painted as our enemies, but yeah.
Yeah.
But even a country that is like ostensibly neutral, I just can't imagine the government of the United Kingdom being like having an ad during the Super Bowl. It just seems so strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. I don't understand. Like, I need to like, I want like a political science term for what this relationship is, because I would love to see what like corollaries there are, because I just think it seems so unique to me.
Yeah.
Like even historically, like a thing that came into being because of the superpower now calling so many of the shots. It's just so strange.
The crazy thing is that there is a thing that people would have likened it to a couple years ago, and that's people, when liberals were just like all up in a tizzy about Russian interference in the election through ads.
Yeah.
And they're like, look at this foreign interference. This, we have to go to war with Russia, blah blah blah. Like,
I mean, Russia did interfere a little bit. Yeah, I mean, but
at the same level that
for sure.
Americans
This is
did,
like,
and I don't know if it was ever like people looked at it and they are like, we don't think that actually is what swayed the election.
hard to say. Yeah.
It's more likely that the Democratic Party put up some dud candidates. Like, it's not like they did election like voter fraud or engineering. It's just like through
all the separate thing. But you're
campaign.
right. If you're worried about Russian interference, you would think you would be worried about this kind of level of like another
This is a
nation
Super
state.
Bowl ad that cost millions of dollars.
Right, the like most nationally watched program probably in the country at that point.
It's like in your face. It's like
Yeah, it's very
At
explicit.
least Russia had the respect for the U.S. to like be a bit more covert about it.
Buy
Like,
some targeted Facebook ads. Yeah.
yeah, this is like incredibly disrespectful.
to our national Super Bowl pastime. Yeah. No, it's very weird though. Yeah. I think that's a good note to end on. Let us know if you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Hold on. Were there any other broad updates? I think yeah, just keep an eye out. Like, hopefully the UNRWA thing dies down, but it seems like that's the angle they're really gonna press.
I mean, we withdrew aid. The U.S. withdrew aid from UNRWA. So
the U.S. withdrew aid. Oh, yeah, the U.S. withdrew aid. A lot of the big powers withdrew aid. Some countries have tripled their aid.
Oh, it's good to hear.
But I mean, they're smaller countries. Belgium has continued to give aid, and I think also doubled its aid since then. And then Israel promptly bombed a Belgian embassy building.
I forgot about that.
In Gaza. So
that kind of shit again also just seems like so illegal. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think the obviously still more escalations and bombings in the Red Sea between Yemen and the U.S.
And also, we didn't even talk about that. You're right. There's been targeting of allegedly Iran-backed groups in several countries by the U.S., including Iraq. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's bad. It's bad. And it is really just, I don't know, just on a personal note, I suppose. It's just getting hard to. I don't mean to kind of just like personalize it in a way that's like I'm the victim.
Yeah.
But I think this is something that people are generally feeling, is that you just feel like you yourself are being kind of warped in a way because your base emotion every day is just like anger. Just seeing the mix of carnage and like war crimes and being meted out by Israel and the US, with the mix of just the shittiest low tier propaganda that does not even respect one's intelligence. It just like drives you nuts to the point where you like are mad and you just like honestly start to feel hateful at these governments, because I just get like, I get so angry every time I see Joe Biden just anywhere. And yeah, I don't know. It really starts to just, it just fucks with you in a way that I like feel like I have not been fucked with before.
Interesting.
And I don't like feeling like a hateful person. It makes you
I mean, bad. I think that hate, if directed towards action, is not a incorrect emotion for this level of atrocity. Yeah. I mean, I also think, and we've said this before, but I think it bears repeating, that as long as there are Palestinians fighting for the Palestinian cause, we all have a responsibility to support them and to not give in completely to apathy, which I think is different than what you're saying, but just a good reminder for us all.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well,
I got one more thought. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think that we've talked about this before, but I think for various reasons, certain people feel more connected to this conflict because of various identities, and also I think for the obvious reason that like we're all paying taxes that are directly supporting this level of carnage.
Yeah.
Which is going to be real hard to pay our taxes this year, but I would just say that there is this level of suffering often at other places in the globe. And then we don't feel that same level of connection. And I think that that's like a both end. Like, it's not possible to be equally informed on all things, but I think we can use it to kind of try and build the kind of intense solidarity we feel in this moment. I think ideally will propel us to like solidarity with other causes around the world, and that we should try and kind of maintain that level of empathy as much as we can. Yeah. And I mean, it sounds trite, but it's true. And I think it's worth bearing repeating. And I've been really grateful to hear this repeated at a lot of the protests that we've been at, just that like, a lot of these causes are connected to larger forces of imperialism, and so they're not individual and siloed.
Yeah. Yes, at some point we do actually, we should talk about and learn more about Sudan, Congo, and a lot of these other things that are happening elsewhere that are very similar, that don't get as much airtime. All right.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
We love y'all.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.